Hello, sports fans. This is the Sellout Sports Crew coming to you after the Celtics 106-99 victory in Game 3 of the NBA Finals, a game that the Celtics made it much more interesting than it had to be, but also weathered the storm in the first quarter. But the shooters came alive for the Celtics, and I got to say, guys, right off the jump, the whole Luka Doncic face of the league talk. I think he needs to be withdrawn from consideration after this performance in the finals. And instead of me talking for like the first 5 minutes, like I usually do, I'm going to kick that to you guys right now.
Yeah, I think that's a little unfair to say. I think Luka's playing through some pain right now. I get your gripes defensively, hasn't looked the best, but just to base it off of this three-game sample size, I think is a little unfair to Luka.
I agree 100% with Mike on that. I think the sample size is definitely too small to jump to this conclusion. Um, but you're entitled to your own opinion, and I'm sure we'll get
No,
into
we
it a
don't.
little bit
No, no, no,
more.
no, Parker. You either shit on what I have to say, or you like this is sports talk. We don't. You don't have to. You don't have to say you're entitled to your opinion. Everyone's entitled to an opinion, but you have the right to say
You
no.
can
That
tell him that it sucks.
Yeah, you can say that's fucking dumb. This is America. That's what we do. And
All
I
right.
okay, but no, now you lost your chance now.
You
I'm
exceeded
sorry.
your time.
I'm yeah, exactly. You already exceeded your time. I am so done with this. I am so done with this trend in American sports where it's all offense. He is fucking useless on defense. And tonight he was like, I don't care how many points he scored. He was 11 to 27. He was inefficient. He was 1 of 7 from three. He couldn't score in the paint. I just this he is Kyrie is the better player. Kyrie should have, like, when Luka fouled out with what 3-4 minutes to go. They should have been running the offense through Kyrie before that, and they might have won this game. But
How quickly we forget, Tori. Luka literally saved a game in the was it the conference finals with his tip at the on the it was the conference finals against the Timberwolves when he tipped the alley oop, which was supposed to go to Gobert, I believe, at the rim. I mean, people were praising his defense then. The guy's hurt. That's all it is.
I'm sorry, being hurt is not an excuse. And yeah, he's hurt. I'm sorry, he's got a boo boo on his chest. I'm sure it hurts. I understand, but listen, guys, if you're a well conditioned athlete, you heal more quickly. You don't get injured as quickly. Quite frankly, Luka is the next James Harden. And if I could bet it right now, I wonder if it's at Westgate or something like that. If I could bet it right now, I would bet that Luka never wins a championship in his career, because I bet there's pretty good odds on that. And I'm telling you right now, give me a player that plays defense as poorly as he does that's won a championship recently. That's a number one on their team. Like there's plenty of guys that play poor defense and have rings,
Steph Curry.
but he still plays defense. And we're not talking about a 6'7" guy that should be like a physical presence and everything. Like, listen, like I
You
guess
keep moving the goalpost on this one, my guy.
I'm not moving the goalpost. Like, okay, so you're saying,
You are.
okay, Kyrie's not really a defensive presence. And okay, yeah, Kyrie
Jokic?
is it. Jokic still plays good defense. He disrupts in there.
I mean,
He's
he picks
like an
and
elite
he
rim
picks and
protector.
chooses just like Luka does.
All right, listen, guys. I mean, I'll fully admit I'm coming into this, like this is the NBA postseason I by far that I've paid the most attention to. Maybe I have some learning to do, but regardless of how much learning I had to do, I will never accept that it's okay to not play defense. That is gross. Like,
All I have to say is you say he's not conditioned, but he was tied for second in the most minutes per game
yeah, well, when you
this
don't play
regular
on
season.
one side of
He
the
played
floor, you
37
don't
and a
need to
half
be well
minutes a game.
conditioned.
You cannot be out of shape and play 37 and a half minutes per game in the association. It just can't happen. Sorry.
He is clearly not. He's nowhere near in the condition that Tatum is. Tatum plays on both ends of the floor. Look at me.
Tatum doesn't
Sticking up for
have a
Jason
chest
Tatum.
injury right now.
I'm sorry, what?
Tatum doesn't have a chest injury right now.
Okay, we don't know that. We don't know. Okay, I
We
mean,
know that Luka has one.
listen, everyone's playing through pain. It's the playoffs. It's the postseason. Like everyone's banged up, especially at this stage when you've played, how many games? Like I mean, the Celtics haven't played that many games, but how many? The Mavs are up to like 20, 22 games of postseason basketball, regular season, whatever, postseason basketball. But that being said, they also had 7 days off. So I don't want to really hear about Luka's other injuries and all that stuff. Listen.
Well, this injury came in game one.
Okay, understood. I'm just saying again, it's a bruised sternum. And listen, if you're not shooting well, which he wasn't tonight, then you have to contribute on the defensive end of the floor. And he was absolutely useless defensively tonight. It blows my mind that he actually was able to get 6 fouls because he's so disinterested and such a spectator on the defensive end of the floor. How the hell does he get 6 fouls? That's mind blowing to me. But listen.
I mean, what's mind blowing to me is that you think 27 points, 6 assists
on 11 of 27. Carmelo
isn't contributing to offense.
That's a Tuesday night for Carmelo back in the day. Not a winner.
7 assists. That's like a career high for Carmelo.
Wait. How many did Luka have? 7 or no 6 wasn't it? 6 assists.
6. Okay, that's still probably a career high for Melo.
Maybe, yeah. Listen, I'm just saying, like if you shoot 27 times, 27 points isn't exactly, rocking the world or anything. But
yeah, but Kyrie had 30. He had 6 assists. Like, he contributed on offense. For you to just throw that to the wayside is absurd.
I'm not throwing Kyrie's performance to the wayside.
No, you're throwing Luka's to the wayside, which is absurd. He scored 27 and he had 6 assists. And Kyrie had 30 points. That's exactly what you need as the Mavericks to win a game.
Yeah, but if he shoots 27 times, then you need more points from Luka. He was 1 of 7 from 3. And like I said, 4 of 11 in the paint. Actually, that's a good segue because we thought no Kristaps was going to hurt the Celtics a lot more. And predictably, the Mavericks attacked it early on. Even got 1 or 2 lobs in there. But it didn't really seem like it hurt the Celtics that much, which is kind of what I said. I get it. You guys are Celtics fans. You got a little nervous about it. You get superstitious. You don't want to get too cocky. I understand, but there's no need for any nerves. The Celtics are so much more talented. And I admit it. I called the series over at 90-71 early in the fourth quarter tonight. And then the Celtics completely started to unravel. Celtics that I remember, the Celtics that I would give you guys shit about a month ago, right? The Celtics that fall asleep with a big lead, and they stopped the bleeding though. Something that they wouldn't do in the past. They stopped the bleeding, and now this is going to be a championship team. Because as far as I'm concerned, this series is a wrap. I don't think Luka has the heart. Yeah, and again, like I said, I don't think he has the conditioning, and that's why. Guys, he faded towards the end of this game again. He was fantastic in the first quarter, part of the second, and then he started to fade, and that's exactly what happened in game 2 too.
He was really, really good at the beginning of the first quarter. That's when they jumped out to a 25-12 lead. One key takeaway I had was they take him out. They try to give him some rest. They try to steal a couple of minutes for Luka on the bench with 4 minutes left in the first, which is early for him. And the Celtics respond. I think this was really the key to the Celtics getting back in was Jaylen Brown attacks on a fast break and scores. Next possession down, they get a stop. And then Tatum, I believe that's when he rattled in the 3. It touched every part of the rim and went in. Quick 5-0 run, forces Jason Kidd to call a timeout, and Luka comes right back in just a minute later. Like, I will give you that Luka needs a little bit more rest right now. And he wasn't able to get it right there because that 13-point lead quickly became 8. They put Luka back in. So he was 5 of 7 at that stretch. And then he ends the half 7 of 16. So he was totally thrown off his game after just getting that quick rest. He finished the half, that's 2 of 9. So, he was vintage Luka Doncic early for those first 8 minutes. And then the closing, 12, 14 minutes of the half, just he wasn't it. And the Celtics, what were they, down 1 at half? 50-51, I believe, right?
Yeah, it was 51-50.
And that's really the story there. I mean, Jason Kidd's trying to steal that little bit of a break, and that could easily go 4 points the other way. And it sounds minimal, but 17 versus 8, 4 or 5 the other way versus that way. That's a big difference in the first quarter. The Celtics, like you guys said, weathered the storm, took the punch, and then they punched back, and they had the confidence, and then finally broke through in the third quarter, shooting threes well for the first time all series. And then, like you guys said, kind of took the gas off in the fourth, but
I think just
had enough to hold on.
Yeah, went completely stagnant. But yeah, what's up, Parker?
Yeah, so going back to the pivotal point where Jason Kidd took Luka out and then had to put him right back in the past series, especially last series, we saw that when they took Luka out, Kyrie was able to take over and score points, and that was huge for them. And allowed Luka to get an extended rest. I agree wholeheartedly that is kind of where Luka's night went astray. But like also the Celtics just clawed back, fought really hard. And then by the time the third quarter came around, they just went nuts, and then they took their foot off the gas. But they prevailed, thankfully. But yeah, I mean, I think that was the turning point.
I have a question for you guys. Daniel Gafford is interviewed in between the third and fourth quarter, and what he said just absolutely baffled me. He tells Lisa Salters that they need to force the Celtics to the basket to begin the fourth. They said they need to run them off the three, which, I mean, I get that they just hit a bunch of threes in the third quarter, but
yeah,
that's how the Celtics offense opens up is driving kick.
100%. That's actually the worst option for the Mavericks. You want the Celtics to fall in love with the three, especially with the way they've been shooting the past like 2 games. Like they're not hitting at the clip that they normally do. Like yes, eventually water will find its level, and they might actually start hitting the threes. But that's just idiotic.
Yeah, it is idiotic. It doesn't make any sense. Like you're right, you want them shooting the three, but after the third quarter, you kind of get what he was saying. Like okay, now it's time to stop the bleeding because Celtics in the third. This was a game of unbelievable runs. The Mavericks start on a 25-12 run, and then in the second quarter, let me pull this up actually because I wrote it down. Whoops. So it started on a 25-12 run. Celtics answer. Then in the second quarter, Celtics go on a huge run. Basically from the midway through the second to midway through the third, it's a 28-13 run. At the start of the third quarter, it was actually like 9 lead changes in a row. It was kind of crazy.
They were back and forth.
Yeah, they were nip and tuck, and then the Celtics finished that 28-13 run. Then the Celtics went on a 41-19 run, aided by the fact they were 13-20 in the third quarter overall, 5 of 11 from 3, and then they knocked down 2 more threes to start the fourth quarter. And then, of course, the Mavs go on a 22 run to get the game back within 2 at one point.
2,
it was 2.
It was. But I think that just goes to show you that the Celtics stick to their game plan. They're not shooting the three well. They're not going to abandon it. But at the same time, realize when they needed to
abandon the game, like because they totally took their foot off the gas at about 9:45.
So besides the fourth quarter, that's what I was about to get at. Besides the fourth quarter, which has been the anomaly so far, these finals, I'm talking all 3 games sort of here. Mm-hmm. They've stuck with the 3, and then you get that interview from Daniel Gafford, and it's just like it seems like the Mavs were switching their game plan because the Celtics started to hit threes. That's not conducive to winning, if you ask me.
And as far as game plan goes, again, when they have the smaller lineup out there, we said this, last night. It's like they need to get Gafford and Lively more involved than they did for certain stretches. But like again, you go back to game 2, the beginning of the second half, and they picked on Tatum three possessions in a row, and then they went away from it. Like picked on Tatum 3 times in a row, bucket every time, and they started that half really well. So it's like, and that because that was with Kristaps out of the game. Now obviously no Kristaps tonight. It just didn't seem like they forced the issue inside nearly enough. They did it early, and then they went away from it. And I think that if they had continued, they might have had a shot. Kyrie was 4 of 6 from three, but yeah, Luka 1 of 7 from three. If he's not feeling it, like he's gonna have to defer more. He didn't turn the ball over.
And you know how Kyrie got started was that that this is what got me nervous in the first quarter. They didn't have the rotations figured out. It was that semi-transition break, and I think it was initially White guarding him, and then there was a screen, and Tillman drop covered, step up three. Kyrie hits his first three of the series. He was 0 of 8 coming into the series,
deep
or
too.
coming into tonight.
Like in Tillman's defense, like it was pretty deep. He was, he was 3 or 4 feet.
He was deep. He was deep, but that is something where Kristaps' length plays a factor there. Like that is one play you can point to and say that the Celtics missed Kristaps in that possession. And who knows, if JB doesn't hit that jumper with a minute left, those 3 points could have been the difference. So it's crazy.
No, I mean it's crazy to think that was Kyrie's first 3 of the series too.
And then he just heats up. Like you said, 4-6.
Guys, last thing about Luka, but I have to mention this. You guys know that this drives me absolutely bonkers, but not a sneaky pivotal moment, right? The Celtics are sort of climbing back into it. It looks like the momentum stops a little bit. Brown misses a 3 with about a minute left in the third. In the first. Brown misses a 3 with about a minute left. Luka comes down. They get the switch they want. Horford's on him. Maybe Horford fouls him, whatever. Luka stays on the ground, bitches to the ref, and in transition, Hauser hits one of his 3 threes on the night. But yeah, it was a 31-25 game. Hauser comes down, knocks down that 3, and then next possession was the one where they just threw it straight down to Tatum and he dunked it, and now it's 31-30 at the end of the first quarter. It's like those little things where the Celtics stole some points and the Mavs let it happen. And I'm sorry, that always drives me nuts. A guy either laying on the floor, being a soccer player about it, or I mean, I guess it's kind of what he was doing. He's just crying to the ref. And I'm sorry, but it's in his head. Like, again, Tatum used to be worse about bitching to the refs. And I swear he's more focused now because he's not. And he's just focused more on winning, focused more on scoring. So
you can tell it's Luka's first finals. Tatum was doing the same exact thing 2 years ago, just showing his frustration against the Warriors every time he felt there was a foul. We've seen the maturation process of Tatum these playoffs. I think he hasn't let that affect him. He hasn't let his lack of efficiency shooting affect him. He's like we've praised him the first 2 games, even when his shot isn't falling. Tori, like you said, he made a fan out of you. By the way, he's making winning plays regardless of that. And I don't know, like you would think that a guy as experienced as Luka can just understand that moment, considering he's been playing professional basketball for so long. But maybe it truly is something that you just have to experience before you can fully understand.
I think there might be something to that. So maybe I need to calm down on my Luka will never win take, but he's going to have to plplay better defense if he ever wants to win. That's what.
You can't allow 5-on-4s. I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, as Mike said, like with the maturation of Tatum, I think Luka's going to go into the offseason this year, learn from this, and I think he'll work on this stuff in the coming years, and he's going to be back in the finals. And he's going to win a final eventually.
Luka could make a fan out of me if I see like a little bit of transformation in his body. He takes his conditioning a little bit more seriously, and like I said, just again, he doesn't need to be a lockdown defender or anything. I understand, there's expenditure of energy and it's if you're a guy that can put the ball in the bucket, then you're not. A lot of guys aren't going to spend as much. I mean, that's why the Celtics, are going to win this title right now, because even though they have a Tatum and a Brown that are great scorers, they play great defense too, and that's why they're going to win. So, I mean, especially Jake. I mean, I've been arguing with Jake about the Celtics for 5-6 years, the poor kid, and I think I was right to a certain extent then, but now this Celtics team, like I said, made a fan of me. The interesting thing about it too is I think it's not just me, by the way, but we've got it, like the basketball world's gotten stuck in this like this is the way we've always done it, so this is the way it needs to be kind of thing, in the sense that your best player has to be your closer. Doesn't necessarily have to be the case. And like, I don't know if Brown is their best player, but he's definitely their closer, and that bared out tonight. And I think that it sort of has throughout these playoffs, right? It's debatable who's the better player. I love that they're not acting like it matters to them. We'll have plenty of time to debate it later on. But it's just really interesting that the Celtics, they kind of have a different blueprint for what, obviously great defense, but if Tatum's the quote unquote, 1A and Brown's the 1B, but Brown's the guy that I want with the ball in his hands at the end of the game. And, Mike, you didn't like that shot with like a minute left that the Celtics, I think that was when they were up 2, and Brown takes a tough shot. Not good. The shot selection, the last 10 minutes of the game for the Celtics was terrible, but the difference is Tatum took a similar shot 1 or 2 possessions before, didn't make it. Brown took that shot and nailed it. Not to mention earlier in the fourth quarter, Brown made one of their only field goals, and kind of stopped the bleeding after the Mavs went on a 12-0 run. So it's like Brown seems to be
on a putback. Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? But
yeah, and it's funny that you say that. I feel like the only good shot the Celtics actually got in the last 5 minutes was Drew's drive to the baseline with 2:45 left. Drives on the left-hand side of the baseline, fires a beautiful pass with his left hand to Derek White on the right wing, step up 3 swish. That literally the only possession I liked in the last 5 minutes for the Celtics. And it's just so funny to hear Daniel Gafford at the beginning of that quarter being like, we need to make them drive. And they allow them to drive, and it's literally their best shot of the quarter. Like, that's not what you want to do, Dallas. I don't know how I don't know how that's not in your head. I really don't.
Do you feel like there's actually any sort of coaching edge, or do you think that, I mean, do you guys really, you guys have said multiple times that Mazzulla has improved a lot, and Mike, you made a good case that he came into an unexpected job last year, an unexpected job with very high expectations. And then there's this year, he comes in, he's able to form his own staff. He actually had a whole off season prepare and so on and so forth. Do you guys think there was a big coaching edge in this series? I shouldn't say like the series is over, but I think it is.
I'll throw this to Parker. I'm not really too sure.
I definitely think that Mazzulla has a coaching edge on Jason Kidd. I've been saying all year that this is a different Joe Mazzulla than we had last year. As you were saying, like, Joe Mazzulla was thrown into the fire 2 days before training camp started last year after we fired Ime Udoka. He wasn't able to hire a staff to support him, and he just didn't have the experience. Now he has experience. His philosophy has sunk in with the team, and I mean, I don't think it's like a huge difference between his coaching and Jason Kidd's, but I mean, he's definitely out-coaching Jason Kidd this series.
It's just tough for me to. It's tough for me, like, especially with how the Mavs are constructed, guard heavy, isolation heavy. It's just like that's the perfect voice to have in the huddle. He's getting clowned right now on social media for his timeout usage, which is funny enough. That was the whole story on Joe Mazzulla all of last playoffs. But just like having been in every single situation as a player can only help him as a coach. So, I mean, that's no discredit to Mazzulla. I think it's probably Mazzulla has a slight edge, but just somebody that hasn't watched a ton of Mavs, I can't speak on that too much, I guess.
Yeah, fair. I agree. I think Jason Kidd's a good coach. I just think Mazzulla is like slightly better in this series.
All right. Well, just to wrap things up, guys, the series actually isn't over, even though it definitely feels that way. Is this thing over on Friday?
Yeah, I mean, tough. I think tonight was the Mavs' best chance. I think if they win this game, this might be a whole different series, especially because like midway through the game, Woj dropped a bomb that Kristaps probably isn't playing the rest of the series. the season's most likely done.
Yeah, I nailed that.
No, you did.
I mean,
Um,
it's funny. I mean, he's just like going through it, like, I mean, I already went through this, but it really looked like I was under the impression that he got hurt in the fourth quarter, and then you watch him play and you see, okay, he's hobbled, but it seemed like, all right, there's a chance this guy could play and actually, come in and give him 12, 15 minutes or something like that. But he's how much longer is he under contract? The Celtics aren't going to risk that, and so
no, 100%.
I don't think this series is. I mean, the Celtics are going to win this series, but I don't think it's a sweep. PJ Washington really found his stride tonight and his shot late. The Mavs did some things I like. They got others involved, even though Kyrie and Luka took the most of the shots. The other guys were getting involved earlier in the possession. I think if they continue that, they can at least get one at home before. I think Celtics in 5.
All right. Well, I originally said Celtics in 6. I think I'm going to change it.
I did too.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go Celtics in 5 now. But anyway, guys, yeah, thank you everyone for being here. We'll have the regular podcast tomorrow night. Probably not up until Saturday, but we'll be talking about Tom Brady, a little WNBA stuff. And of course, we'll be back on Friday night, possibly discussing the end of the NBA season. So thanks everyone for being here, and good night.